You only live once, exile. Make your choice. A simple ultimatum. Leave with your life and a meager reward, or risk it all for a chance at ungodly riches. For each trial you accept, the challenge grows. But fail, and leave with nothing. Reap the reward you deserve. Ultimate reward requires ultimate risk. Face the ultimatum. Ultimate reward requires ultimate risk. Face the ultimatum.
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention. A fellow exile. One more fool under Zana's sway. Allow me to destroy you before she has a chance to betray you, too. At least, my way will be quick. You slew my friends! You brought ruin to my worlds! You have invaded my very center. I should be furious, and yet I feel nothing. easy as flicking a pest. Did you really think this would work? I transcended all this long ago. Feel the thrill of
The void. Why run? What's the point? Your lives are meaningless. Watch beauty crumble.
Impressive. But now you will fight on my lands. You assumed I share the same weakness as my fellows. And now you come to me. Is it bravery or foolishness? You will long for
Non-existence. Rain of stars. Everlasting fire. Glorious flames. Be silent. Die.
has tested you, my brother. Now let's see what God has to say. I've dealt with far darker shadows than you, exile. I exiled an animal. Now you almost resemble a man. Garui. I offered the gift of exile, and you used it to reinvent yourself. I couldn't wish for a more potent instrument. It is woman's purpose to tempt and try the will of man. Welcome to the greatest of arenas, duelist. God is watching. You'd bite the master that called you here, which?
Hey guys, Dante here, back with another little video, and in this one I'll be talking about the build that I'm currently playing, which is a Int Stacking Wander Scion. Now, why I chose to make this build is because I always liked Int stacking. I think my last one was 2 leagues ago in 3.14, which was an assassin, and that build was very squishy. It had huge damage, but the survivability was absolutely lacking. And after trying different types of int stacking, I came up with this Incandescent Heart setup, partially inspired by Captain Lance with Vengeant Cascade and Remi with the Incandescent Heart. So I decided to give it a try and see how this all plays out. Now, if you don't know, the build revolves around Vengeant Cascade, which is an anoint that gives us 50% increased projectile speed. Attack projectiles return to you from final target. Returning projectiles pierce all targets. Now, this build revolves around having this anoint combined with Hydrosphere on your main target and your projectiles basically hitting the enemy twice. Basically doubling your damage. This has Captain Lance did a entire demonstration of this and how to actually calculate the damage and how it works with. So I'm going to leave a link to his video in the description. He has a very in-depth explanation of how this works, so make sure to check that out. But in POB, to get an accurate representation of Vengeant Cascade is just do 100% more attack speed, which calculates the projectiles hitting the enemy twice. Okay, so without further ado, let's get right into it. The Ascendancy, I chose to go with Occultist, which basically gives you a free additional curse, 10% increased effect of your curses. You have a lot of ES regen and cannot be stunned if you have while you have energy shield. As being a CI build, the only time when you don't have energy shield is when you're dead. And for the second one, we took the Berserker Ascendancy, which basically gives us free access to Rage and the ability to use Berserk, plus the other benefits of 15% more damage, gain 1 Rage, like I said, you get free access to Berserk, and 2% of attack damage, leeches life, and mana if you've killed recently, which solves a lot of our regen issues. I did experiment with Deadeye. Deadeye comes close to Berserk, but Berserker always takes it, goes ahead of Deadeye, no matter what you do, however you play it. Especially when you have tail on your boots, Berserker wins. So yeah, that's the Ascendancy. So like I said, the build revolves around Vengeant Cascade with a lot of defensive layers, right? Like I said in 3.14, I tried a Int stacker with the 12 passive spell damage cluster with 12% 12 int. ES and increased effect, which was extremely squishy. Now this build in particular is a bit more tanky, even though it lacks the DPS of the 3.14 version by, let's say, about like maybe 5 to 10 million, something like that. But the survivability of this build is absolutely bonkers. Now the thing that makes this build really good is a combination of Incandescent Heart combined with Call of the Brotherhood, which allows you to chill and freeze enemies, which is an amazing defensive layer. And yeah, that's pretty good. Basically what Incandescent Heart does is nullify 25% of elemental damage from hits, because 25% of elemental damage from hits is taken as chaos. We are CI, therefore we just nullify 25% of elemental damage. So yeah, combined with Frost Shield, which I'm using to basically give me another defensive layer, and I use this on cooldown, especially on bosses like Shaper, Sirus. Now Shaper not really, but Sirus, and especially in Simulacrum. For example, in the wave 30 Simulacrums, I've done multiple now, and this Frost Shield, like you see here, I'm using the Divergent one, gives you a tremendous amount of survivability. Now, we're gonna get into the gem section of the build. But yeah, basically using Incandescent Heart, ideally you would want one with +2 projectiles, corruption, 50% increased damage, corruption, or something like that. They shouldn't be very cheap. I just went with the shaped one because I want the style points. Don't be like me, get a +2 projectile one. Okay, so let's get, without further ado, let's get right into it. So for the gear, let's get in with the uniques. For the uniques, I am using a Shaper's Touch, which gives us a lot of benefits per attribute. The main things are increased ES per strength, accuracy per int, evasion per int, and percent armor and energy shield, and mana for strength helps you a little bit on the mana. Incandescent Heart nullifies 25% of elemental damage taken because we are CI, and as you can see, 25% of elemental damage from hits is taken as chaos, which basically nullifies 25% of the elemental damage. Plus, it gives you a lot of damage because you gain 20% of elemental damage as extra chaos. Ideally, you want this chest piece, but with a corrupted +2 projectile gems. Okay, don't be like me. I just like the Shaper influence for the style points. Get a +2 proj corruption. I'm using a called the Brotherhood because it allows us to use Trinity, which allows us to freeze, chill enemies, another great defensive layer, which is amazing. Best shield for this build is hands down a Sirus Reflection. Again, I went with a Shaper influence. It is not needed, obviously. You get a lot of evasion, a lot of res, a lot of ES. You are immune to curses, unaffected by curses actually, and a lot of flat int and all res. Best in slot. For the one, I'm gonna give you a quick example here. You will need to awaken orb the prefix mod from the hunter mod pool, 1% increased spell damage per 16 intelligence. Awaken that with the other Shaper mod from the Shaper mod pool, 1 to 6 lightning damage, 2 attacks with this weapon per 10 intelligence. Once you awaken orb these, you ideally would like to have a open prefix and a open suffix. So let's say you didn't get the ideal mod pool. You have something like a third suffix. Not like this. Let's say you have another suffix. If you have another suffix, then you cannot craft prefix cannot be changed to continue with the next step, right? So you will have to basically gamble and try to annul a suffix. Once you annul a suffix and you have one open prefix, one open suffix, you can proceed to the next step, which is crafting prefixes cannot be changed, and you then have two options. You either Veil Chaos it, if hoping you get a prefix. Now, if you get double suffixes, no big deal. You just unveil, craft something, go again, prefixes cannot be changed, slam it again until you get a, oh wait, they got a prefix, until you get a prefix. Let me just, there we go, we got a prefix, right? So we got a prefix, and then you want to unveil, and ideally you would like to get attacks with this weapon penetrate elemental resistances. Either, if not, lightning damage, non-chaos is extra chaos is also good, but ideally you want the pen because that is the biggest damage that you can get. Once you have this, you can proceed to the next step. In this case, we have three full suffixes. Then you want to go to harvest, and you want to do reforge keep prefixes. So you fix this, right? Once you get that, you get like at least one open suffix. Then you do prefixes cannot be changed again. And you either can do what I personally did is reroll reforge more common speed. And I got lucky and I got like T2 or T1 on my first attempt. Now if you get something like this, high attack speed and something else, it's also pretty good. You can leave it like that. Or if you can keep going until you get a good amount of attack speed, let's say tier 3, and then you can either craft strength or int or crit multi or whatever is more damage in your POB. So like I said, the ideally in the prefix you want the elemental damage penetrates elemental resistances, like this one over here. I got it on my first try, so I got really lucky. If not, you just keep going and try again. Or the belt. A belt you want to get the proper base, like this one, and you want to get a percent in synthesized belt, and then you can proceed with crafting it. And the way you do this craft, like something like I have on my build, is basically you just spam essences of spite until you get a good outcome. For example, you want double resistances or other attributes or something like that. So you just keep spamming until you get something that you're happy with. Like this, for example, I will probably keep it. We got the essence int, a T2 res and a T7 res. This one doesn't really matter. You can keep it like that. Probably gonna help you in the long run. T7 kind of sucks, but otherwise you can keep going until you get something that you're happy with. So to keep this short and sweet, let's say we keep this, right? Fire res and strength. Then you craft suffixes cannot be changed on your bench. And in order to get ES, you would go to like suffix cannot be changed and reforge more common on defense until you get a good roll. For example, T3, I will 100% keep this. And then you can craft elemental damage with attack skills and call it a day. For the non-unique ring, you want again a base that is either curse enemies with elemental weakness on hit, percent int, or onslaught on hit. All of those three bases are very good, but this one is the cheapest one and provides the most quality of life since you don't need to craft brands to curse enemies. So for this ring, I imported here. This is my exact ring, but you see like Craft of Exile doesn't do the synthesize implicit. So how to craft this? Again, you spam Essence of Spite until you get something that you're happy with. You keep going until you get double res or strength or whatever it is you are missing for your build. It will vary from build to build, so don't take mine for granted, for example. I'm gonna just keep doing this a little bit until you get something like, okay, let's pretend this is good, okay? Once you get this, you get 3 suffixes that you're happy with. Then again, you go to the benchcraft and you do suffix cannot be changed, and you, depending what you want more damage or you want more defense. If you want defenses, you do reroll defense and hopefully you get a good ES roll like this, and then you craft fire and cold damage. Or if you have another source of ignite for Trinity, then do either percent ES or elemental damage or attack skills. So that is how you craft the ring. Now, for the boots, I am using a Storm Rider pair of boots with the damage penetrates 10% of enemy elemental resistances if you haven't killed recently. Why am I using this base and not a two-toned or a pure ES base? Is because we are using Shaper's Touch gloves, which give us accuracy per 2 intelligence. As you can see here, you have 5,439 accuracy. This will give you a lot of damage just by having this base. If you feel like you're dying a lot or you're too squishy, go for a pure ES base. If you're missing resistances, go for a pair of two-tone boots. But for my personal preference, I found these to be the better choice. On how to craft these, as you can see, this one has Tailwind, Int, Res, Elusive, and Movement Speed. Now, you guessed it, you spam essences. You get a double influence base, Hunter, and Redeemer. It doesn't matter what you awaken. You can buy a bricked pair, it doesn't really matter. And then you start spamming essences. Now, on average, it will take you quite a few essences to get Tailwind. But once you get Tailwind, you can call yourself lucky and happy. Now, let's say I'm gonna give it there's a few more tries. If it doesn't hit, that's how I got my pair. I basically essence spammed until I got my Tailwind. I think it took me about 40 or something essences, and I also got the lightning rest, which is very nice. But to reenact what I did afterwards is I scoured the prefixes and I did suffix cannot be changed, reforge, crit, what is it, crit, and it guarantees you elusive. After this, you do another suffixes cannot be changed, and you need to do an ashling. Hopefully, ashling removes the metamod, just like it did there. Once you unveil it, and you get 25% movement speed, which goes up to 30, and then you can craft either energy shield or whatever you want to craft on these. But that is how I got my pair. I wish you luck on crafting yours, and I hope this helps. And for the amulet, again, you want a synthesized amulet with 13 to 15% increased intelligence, synthesized implicit. And I imported mine in Craft of Exile, and you guessed it, the way you craft these is with essences of spite. Basically, you just spam essences until you get suffixes that you're happy with. You ideally want 3 suffixes, but if you get 2, you can try your luck with that. But let's say you get something like, I'm not to keep this going for too long, but let's say you get something like this. You get accuracy, crit chance, and stuff like that. You get 3 suffixes that you're happy with. Ideally, you don't want this, but you get the idea, okay? Something that you're happy with. Then, again, you do suffix cannot be changed, and you go to either, again, reforge defense if you want to get some ES, which can be a little bit tricky, depending on what base you use, right? But let's say you get something good, like tier 3 maximum energy shield, and then you can either craft energy shield or increase elemental damage or attack skills. Now it all depends on your playstyle, if you want more damage or if you want more survivability, right? Or like I said, you can craft percent ES, which gives you a little bit more defensive properties. So yeah, that is for the amulet. So for the helmet, you want a hubris circuit with a proper enchant, either power siphon fires to additional projectiles or sniper mag has increased effect. Now, once you have a proper base, it's important to be a minimum of item level 75, maximum 79. If it goes between those levels 75 and 79, then it guarantees that no other suffixes can land on the Hunter Exalted Slam, which I will show you right now. So let's say you get your base item level 76, maximum 79, okay? Then you take your essences of spite and you spam it until you get 2 good suffixes. This is the ideal case, right? You get your essence int, a high resist, and then 2 or 3 prefixes. It does not matter. If you get 2 prefixes, you craft the 3rd prefix. Then you take your Hunter's Exalted Orb, and having all 3 prefixes logged, the only thing that the Hunter Exalted Orb can slam is %int. Now, getting T1 is a bit tricky. It's like 50-50, right? Just 50-50. But this is the way you craft the helmet. Take your base, proper item level, spam essences until you have 2 good suffixes, 2, not 3, remember, 2 suffixes, and fill in the rest of the prefixes. Then you slam it and you got your suffixes done. Once you have your suffixes finished, then you go to the bench, craft again, craft, suffix cannot be changed. Oh, wait, suffix cannot be changed. And you want to do reforge defense. And you're ideally looking for a high roll on ES, flat, or percent, right? There we go. If you get something like this, T4, T3, and then you can craft on yourself the hybrid, and you got a pretty nice pair of a pretty nice hubris with 220 plus energy shield. For example, mine has 258. It's got T3 and crafted flat. So that is how you craft your helmet. Okay, so let's get into the gems. In my wand, I have Sigil of Power, Berserk, and Molten Shell. In the gloves, I have Anomalous Kinetic Blast, Trinity, Awaken Fork. I found Awaken Fork to be the best clear skill, better than GMP, better than actually any other skill that I tried. So yeah, Awaken Fork, very underestimated, huge for clear speed. It just goes everywhere. Inspiration for the last support. Now you want Anomalous Kinetic Blast because Anomalous one gives you projectiles pierced to additional targets. Preferable Scourge corruptions on this would be socketed gems are supported by flat added cold or lightning damage or attack speed. In my boots, I have Spellslinger with Hydrosphere with Sniper's Mark, which basically allows us to cast Hydrosphere and also our second curse. And a portal gem. In my shield, I have a Divergent Frost Shield, which is another great layer of survivability, like I said. Use it on cooldown on bosses. The Divergent Frost Shield is 10% of the damage dealt to you or allies in the area with hits by enemies in area is taken from Frost Shield life before your life or energy shield. So basically 10% of the damage that you receive is taken from the shield. As you can see here, it has a life bar, and 10% of the damage you take is going to be taken by this thing first, and you link it to Second Wind, so you can have two uses to almost have a permanent uptime on your Frost Shield. And then, like I said, Second Wind and Dash for mobility. In my helmet, I'm using Grace, Precision, Discipline, and an Enlightened support. These are your main auras. Precision is for the crit chance, so you can use additional alternate qualities. I have not gotten that yet, but it is recommended to get any other quality because like a area of effect does absolutely nothing. Grace and determination for not determination, discipline for survivability. And of course our main skill is for single target is Anomalous Power Siphon. Anomalous Power Siphon has additional projectile, which is very, very good, the best one for single target damage. You link it to increased critical damage, Trinity, Barrage, and Awaken Added Lightning combined with Awaken Elemental damage or attack skills. So yeah, if you have a map that's corrupted and has reflect the enemies reflect, just swap this to this, and then your kinetic blast will not be able to reflect elemental damage, and then on bosses just put it back in here. All right, so yeah, that is those are the main skills that I am using. Now for the flask, I am using a Jade Flask for, again, more defense. It just boosts our evasion a little bit more. A Dying Sun, which helps for clear speed and also for single target, but the downtime is quite high because you use it once and then, yeah, you use it on your burst phase on Conqueror and stuff like that. A Quicksilver Flask with high movement speed, the highest movement speed that you can get. A Cinder Swallow Flask. Ideally, you want to recover 3% of energy shield when you kill an enemy during Flask effect. And of course, whatever the second mod you want. Because we are having, because we do have fire damage on our ring, we do ignite enemies, which benefits from the second mod on the Cinder Swallow which enemies take increased damage. And another defensive flask is Taste of Hate, which 14%, ideally 15% of physical damage from hits is taken as cold, which nullifies a bit of fizz, which is our weakest part. And yeah, those are the flask. So on to the passive tree and masteries and jewels. So we're starting here as a Scion. We path all the way up here. We take our first jewel slot, which is Thread of Hope. We get malicious intent, 20% increased damage with hits and elements against cursed enemies. We take Mage Bane as a defensive layer, reflexes for evasion and suppress spell damage. And then we take here Foresight. So this is a really good place for this. Especially getting Mage Bane is very, very huge on defensive wise. Then we take a random Eye Jewel or Abyss Jewel or whatever jewel you need. Just get a lot of Int, Energy Shield, flat damage, and whatever attributes you're missing. Then we path here, we get our Watcher's Eye, which is 20%, 20 Energy Shield for each enemy hit while affected by Discipline. Ideally, this can be Divine to 30, which I have to do. And more chances to suppress spell damage while affected by Grace, which we are. Pathing over here, we take, let me just go over the jewels real quick and then I'll go to the Masteries. Down here, I'm using a Elegant Hubris. Doesn't matter what it is, under who or coins, whatever, doesn't really matter. I'm just using it for a 10% chance to get Frenzy on hit. This is very, very huge single target damage. And so far, I couldn't really figure out another way to get frenzies except this. If you have any ideas on how to generate frenzies and not be this, please let me know in the comments. I am more than happy to listen to your suggestions. Over here for the jewels, I got a Calamitous, Smite the Weak, Veteran Defender, increased attack damage while holding a shield. Cluster jewel, we take Veteran Defender, Calamitous, a Cobalt jewel with spell damage, ES, attack and cast speed, attack speed with wands. And over here we got a small cluster with Sublime Form, ES, and Int. So we have enough reservation efficiency to sock it in our auras and Spellslinger. Over here I took a Fertile Mind, which transforms all the dexterity passives and turns them into Int passives. Very huge. Like if you see, I remove this, I lose like a lot of it, almost 100 Int. Pathing all the way down here, we took another cluster, same thing, attack damage while holding a shield. We took Veteran Defender, Fuel the Fight, and then I took another Precise Retaliation and Pressure Points, critical, strike chance, medium cluster. And over here I got a Split Personality with Int and ES, and another one here with Int and ES as well. So those are the jewels. Let's go over the masteries. Over here, probably the most important mastery that you can get if you are not using Crown of Ice, which I'm not. The most important mastery is increases and reductions to spell damage also apply to attacks while wielding a wand. That means that any percent increased spell damage, like this one, 2% increased spell damage per 100 maximum mana up to 40%, also applies to attacks, which is very, very good. Over here we take the 5 int per allocated mastery passive skill, which is better than the 5% increased attributes. If by any reason you are missing strength to use Molten Shell or Berserk, take 5% increased attributes until you can fix it, and then you can take 5 int per allocated mastery. This is gonna give you more int. Like I'm just gonna show you, right? 1564, we remove it. I do 5% attributes, 1542, which is less. So ideally in my situation is plus 5 int per mastery. That is gonna be better. Over here I am using 1 attack for an additional projectile. Over here we have 80% increased critical strike chance against shocked enemies, which will help your critical strike chance a lot. Over here, another huge mastery is 1% increased spell damage per 16 int. Now, spell damage per 16 int combined with this means all of this is going to apply to attacks as well, which is a huge damage upgrade. For this one, I'm using 15% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. Yeah, here I'm taking all of this suppress wheel and taking critical strike chances increased by chance to suppress spell damage. Probably one of the best masteries in the game. Over here, I took this crit wheel and I took 50% increased effect of non-damaging elements you inflict with critical strikes. Because we crit, our crits inflict shock, and our shock is gonna be huge, which will automatically increase our damage output. Like you saw in the video, like Sirus, we managed to get him up 31% shock, which is very, very good. And yeah, those are all the masteries. We'll talk about the jewels. So yeah, that's about it. Moving on to the POB section of the video. As you can see, like we just talked about the tree, masteries, and jewels and stuff like that. So let me go through a deep dive of the POB. We got all your skills here. So let me go to the configuration. So do we have power charges? Yes, we have a power charges because we're using power siphon, and that gives us power charges. Frenzy charges, yes, from the timeless jewel. Onslaught, yes, from the flask. Tailwind, yes. Elusive, yes. And you crit instantly, obviously we crit all the time, but this does nothing, but I just like it when you crit really, really often. So again, this does absolutely nothing. You can even leave it unticked. If you do Are You Leeching, it is sketchy because even though we leech a lot of ES, a lot of mana, at some point the leech stops when you have full ES and full mana. So you will get a slight damage boost when the initial hit hits and you are leeching, and then the second hit hits when the leeching is still in effect. Once the leeching is over, when your mana and ES are full, this will not benefit. Okay, so this is like kind of like fake DPS. So this was why I will leave it unticked, but this does happen. Just want to let you know. Okay, so Sigil of Power. For Sigil of Power is our very good defense, offensive skill. And Trinity support, you always want to have it on 50, even though at the beginning of the fight it won't be on 50 until you hit the boss once or twice. But after that, when your Trinity resonance is 50, then your damage will be at full potential. Molten Shell, I'm just gonna leave it empty because the damage mitigation is well, it's gonna depend on your build and on your gear. For projectile travel distance, you want to slot it in 10 because we are using point blank, which is a huge damage overall. So yeah, when you're using point blank, stay close to the boss and you're gonna do a lot of damage. Is the enemy ignited? Yes. From the flat damage that we have on our ring. Is the enemy chilled? Yes, because we're using Trinity and we have a lot of cold damage from our call out the Brotherhood. Is the enemy shocked? Yes, because we have very high shock. Like you saw in the video, in the bosses, we can get the shock up to 31%, but I'm just going to leave it at 30 to be more realistic. Yeah, that's about it. It would be nice if we could intimidate, that'd be even more damage. It would be nice if we had a Bottle of Fate, but I don't. So yeah, if you use a Bottle of Fate, definitely you can use a Bottle of Fate. For example, can't type. Bottle of Fate will not do much. The main thing you want is to get 10% increased damage taken by enemies on consecrated ground. So let's say you replace the Quicksilver with a Bottle of Fate. You get a little bit of crit, and you want to take it. Are you on consecrated ground? Is enemy on consecrated ground? And you're gonna get a boatload more damage. But I'm not using it. I can use it, so I'm gonna leave it in there just if you guys want to use it, so you can boost your damage just by a little bit. All right, so that is almost everything about the POB. If I forgot to mention anything, please, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I try to reply to each and every comment. If you guys are interested in trying the build or something like that. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. As you can see in the calculations, we are extremely tanky in elemental. The only weakness is kind of fizz, but 45k fizz is not that bad, especially with all the mitigation with Frost Shield and the Leech. As you can see here, we have ES on Leech 3252, which is a absurd amount, basically like half our full ES pool per hit, which is absolutely disgusting. And yeah, that's about the defensive. You get a lot of ES, you get a lot of mitigation. Now ideally, if you could have a Incandescent Heart, which I've been trying to get, with Iron Reflexes, for example, then your survivability will absolutely skyrocket. Once you get that, if you get that, I haven't seen one on the market since I've been searching for one, so hopefully maybe one will exist. If you're using an anomalous molten shell with Iron Reflexes, as you can see, you're gonna be absolutely unstoppable and with a good chunk of damage. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or join the Discord. The link will be in the description. I try to stream as often as I can, like almost every day on twitch.tv/Dante00151. Please feel free to drop by, drop a follow, say hi, ask me any questions you got about the build, what builds you're playing, and what builds you would like to see in the future. Please let me know what you think about this video, if you find it informative or interesting. And as always, until next time, I hope you guys take care and stay safe, and I'll see you next time.